GM. Market cycles repeat over and over again. Quiet markets, like the market we have right now, lead to exciting markets. And retail are not around during quiet markets, and they don't make the gains then when exciting markets return. And these low volatility, quiet markets are what leads to these exciting markets. So you've got to stay prepared. We do have catalysts in the background, which I'm going to cover in today's video. We have midterm elections coming up, November the 3rd, 83 days away. Trump's discussing capital gains taxes being cut and even only applying to gains adjusted for inflation. That, of course, would shake up markets quite a lot. Some people saying boomers and baby boomers would take a bunch of profit. Some people saying that leaves more people with more money for investment, which can boost risk markets. We also have inflation data that's dropping in about 30 minutes now. This is going to be a big one because Walsh has said inflation data is what's going to affect his decision for the September FOMC, which is currently 50-50. And that's going to change after today. That'll be 40-60 at the minimum after today, depending on how inflation swings. If it's hot, then there's more reason to hike. If it's cool, then there's more reason to not hike and do nothing. So this can really shape up monetary policy, which affects liquidity sensitive assets like Bitcoin, like gold, like equities. So really big day coming up. We're going to dive into it all, starting with the higher time frame market analysis. Of course, not hindsight analysis, guys. You know, 9 months ago, I shared this chart where I went through all the phases of markets, told you guys are in the euphoria phase, shouted to the top of my voice to get out of Bitcoin. I'd sold all my Bitcoin, of course, months before then. And now we're in that bear market phase again where the opportunity is here on the long term. We're back to quiet markets. We're back to volatility coming down. This period here. That's the market we're in right now. Trading opportunities are getting fewer and fewer, but on the long term, value is getting larger and larger. The more time that goes by, the better, because cause and effect. These compression structures, guys, lead to expansions. Just like in 2022, when you had bearish news, you had FTX crashing, Silicon Valley Bank collapsing, USDC depegging from $1, all during a compression where price failed to go lower. It's going to be full of bearish catalysts to shake you out. That's what these bear market phases do. And it's when those bearish catalysts stop leading to price marking down lower that bottom's starting to form. However it's going to look. And right now, we've had Saylor selling Bitcoin. That's so far marked a bottom still. At the end of June over here, 60,200 was his first sell. He's sold since then, but that initial sell, we haven't gone lower since. Cold card exploit, that was last week's low. Haven't gone lower. Maybe we do, but bearish catalysts aren't exactly leading to markdowns like Three Arrows Capital or Luna collapsing would have done in 2022. Or if we go to this bear market, like everyone pivoting to gold led to a nice deleveraging. That also happened after October 10th. Or again, everyone pivoting to trading oil or trading AI. Those markdowns for Bitcoin are not present right now. The markdown we had just took us back to the lows. So far, of course, markets can change, but we react to what the data is showing us right now. So we're in a market that has a lot of opportunity on the long term. We're in a value zone. Weekly bands are still red, of course. So it's not bullish on the weekly. It's not bullish on the monthly, but it is in value. You're below that 50 EMA, which tends to be resistance, as we can see right now. That's the level which Bitcoin struggled to get above in recent weeks and last month. We're currently below that. So deep value zone, bands are red on the weekly. We still don't have our market structure break on the weekly. Now, of course, when it comes to the daily, lower time frame, which build into your higher time frames, less reliable signal, but they can give you a faster signal. Daily has been building for some time. It's failed to go below this low. So price is accepting above the February 6th low. However, at the same time, when we go to the weekly, we go to the line chart, we are finding resistance, of course, at the last weekly low. We could see price is really struggling to get above this level. We've accepted below there for some time, which is fine as long as you're not breaking down. As long as Bitcoin's staying above this February 6th level, yes, you can have sweeps of the lows. As I always say, bottoms can form with sweeps. They can form with a higher low. They can form with a double bottom. As long as we're in between this zone, it's a range for Bitcoin, as I've been saying. Very clear range for BTC. Once you get above, we can start quickly making our way towards 73k. And there's really not much stopping Bitcoin going back towards 80k because it's just full of gaps. But what is stopping Bitcoin is that resistance over here in the short term. So resistance is resistance until it's cleared. The thing stopping Bitcoin from going to 80k is quite literally the resistance here at 65.7k, which would also be a weekly market structure break. So not breaking out, we're also not breaking down. We're in a ranging environment on Bitcoin right now where it's choppy. It's low volatility. And that's indicative of summer price action, guys. Got all the summers marked out here since 2020 where we can see summers tend to compress. They tend to be range bound. And this summer was coming off a low into a high low, building internal structure. That's why it broke out. And your summer low was your Pico bottom in 2020. We then had your 2021 summer. So we saw over here, you'd come off a big move, big bull run on Bitcoin all the way up to 65k into summer, into that 50 EMA where you again chopped and started to break out, built that positive structure for one more sweep of the highs. And your summer low held until late 2022 into the bear market. So summer lows are very important. And in 2022, off the June open, you went straight down and then just into chop again. So you often have one big move and then it's just chop. That's how summers tend to play out. And that summer low was the bottom for some time before one last sweep, reclaimed it, and that was bottoms in. 2023, up, sideways, down, again compressing, summer low was in. 2024, summer low was in, again it was chop. 2025, chop, one move up, but into resistance where we then had your clear exhaustion pattern with the failures to break higher, clearest top you could ever want, could ever ask for price action wise. That's why I teach price action on this channel, not news, which would have had people believing the 4-year cycle's over because their bags have to pump, and really it's just because they bought over here rather than being around in the bear market like you guys are right now watching this video. So where are we at in this summer? June open, it's been down only, quite similar to 2022. If we look over here, which is also bear market year for you 4-year cycle lovers. Move down, consolidate. Move down, consolidate. And we've now got weekly market structure, resistance above, and the low, inside week low, which we failed to break down, support below. So the weekly needs to close above the weekly market structure to put in any weekly bullish reversal. Until then, you've clearly got your range high and your range low support zones, and we'll actually get the chart up. So over here, Bitcoin is very simple. A lot of people overcomplicate these charts right now, but support is support, resistance is resistance, until you break above or below. And really, we've got a volume profile of all of this action, which I've been talking about now for some time. Can take out these paths right now. So we've got a volume profile from February 6th to now, and a volume profile of the entire summer so far. Value area high, we've rejected a couple times. Get above 65.8k. You're likely, especially if you flip it into sport, to then be moving into this daily gap. And that can take you all the way to 74k pretty quickly before it finds any resistance. Vice versa. Boundary area low. If it acts as resistance, expect it to move like resistance. If it acts as support, expect it to move like support. If you accept below, that can trigger a markdown. If you reclaim, that can be what triggers your reversal, like over here. So that's what you're looking at all these key levels. Do you reverse at the value area high? If we actually get this marked out again. So do you reverse here? Or do you break a knot? Do you reverse here? Or do you break a knot? In between, you're at chop. You're literally at the POC where the most volume has been traded on this chart. No edge here momentum-wise on Bitcoin. It's not the asset that's been the one to trade in recent times. That just is what it is. And you'd probably save a lot of money by not getting yourself chopped up in this environment. There are very low time frame opportunities on Bitcoin, which, of course, take your trades when your systems come. But you had a mini distribution here above the 50-day EMA. I talked about this on the channel. You guys will know if you've been following. Mentioned all the downside paths on Monday. I mentioned to get out of longs. I got out of my long, break even, because we didn't get the nice weekend follow through that I wanted. And I said, look at all the liquidity below. That's likely to get targeted after that Sunday rejection. So first of all, if you're not subscribed to the channel, you have been enjoying the content, you have found value, the way you can say thank you and appreciate it is by dropping a subscribe, like, and comment on the channel. I really appreciate all of your support so far. We're almost at 3k subs. So if you want to help a small channel like mine grow, that would be absolutely G. Just takes one click if you guys can do that. We've been absolutely giving you guys banger content daily on this channel for almost a year now. In fact, it was a year since I made my first video. So, pretty G. Make sure you smash a sub if you haven't already. So, looking at the low time frame, we got this exact move that I talked about yesterday. We hit the liquidity, which I literally talked about yesterday. I said you've got a gap here on Bitcoin. If you start to go below this liquidity, then there's not much stopping it from filling in the gap. But this is what can also act as support. And we pinged off that gap. We're now moving up. So there's no established downtrend anymore because this down move from yesterday, this de-risking, has now all just been covered. And well, when we look at the data, it does get a bit interesting because a lot of the covering has been done by the leverage market rather than the spot market, which is, typically a signal that there's a lot of leverage behind this move rather than healthy spot buying. If you can see over here, you have spot up while you have futures up, while you actually have spot down, making a lower low. So not super exaggerated, but you can see how they are diverging. But price is agreeing with the leverage position so far. So open interest down. This means a lot of shorts are unwinding as they should. After it hit liquidity, after it hit support, you got to take profit. And those that aren't taking profit are now just getting wrecked. And they're probably going to at least target this liquidity here, I'd imagine, before any reversals. If it's going to reverse or if it's going to continue higher, it's going to continue higher. So we found support there. We've took the liquidity. It's bouncing up. It's reclaimed Monday's range. It's back above the New York Open from yesterday. We're coming back towards this bearish gap. Since August, this is not a trend. August the 1st to the highs. What is this, guys? This is just a textbook range that we're in right now. So what do you do when you're in a range? Well, Bitcoin over here is support and Bitcoin over here is resistance until broken. Very, very simple. This is now your developed range for the month of August. Everything from August 1st to now. So regarding inflation data, which I potentially may be scalping around, if Bitcoin is making its way up to here, which doesn't look like it because it's in about 10 minutes time now, probably good to look for trades. Or if it somehow goes all the way down to there, good to look for trades. But while we're in mid-range, it's probably not super interesting to trade Bitcoin today. It's right at the FOMC level, right in mid-range where it can equally go up or down. Not much momentum either way. Better assets to trade are going to be something like gold, which has been moving up. for a number of days now. It's broken out of this consolidation, classic Wyckoff that I always teach here. Cause and effect, the longer you spend consolidating, doesn't matter what way it breaks, whether it's up or down, but the break is likely to lead to an expansion move. And that has. You don't have to get long on the breakout. Look at these bands holding, you don't have to get long there. Look at the bands holding again. You can capture some nice moves. But gold, probably most interesting in terms of CPI trades because it can equally have a nice move down to flush out some of these longs, equally can have a nice move up to continue on in the rally. So you want to trade the assets that have the most primed for positioning changes. And this is obviously built up a lot of long positioning, which is right and can continue higher, unless it's wrong and you actually start breaking down. So you can get big moves both ways. So be looking to trade it around there potentially, see if we can get any moves coming into that. Equities, they're starting to lose their H1 bands. So I'll be looking at the H150 on NASDAQ, on SPY. If we get pullbacks today off inflation, let's see if that can produce support for new highs essentially. Bitcoin, yeah, bands of red definitely has been underperforming. Gold, equities as of recent. You got that crypto weakness I told you about. Start of August, first 2 days were weak. Foreshadows what you to expect in August. Same way July, first 2 days Bitcoin was strong. Foreshadowed what to expect in July. So that's now playing out. You've got crypto weakness in August where it's just not got that momentum you'd want it to have. And that just is what it is. Can't beg it to have momentum. Markets are what they are. You can't will the markets to do what you want. You just trade what you're given. IBIT, to give a different look at Bitcoin. More of the TradFi side. Is again just consolidating between these levels. It's just building value sideways. This is going to lead to an expansion move one way or the other. It's just a matter of time essentially. It's just a matter of time before one of these sides breaks and you get a big move on Bitcoin exactly when everyone checks out. And it's the same for Ethereum. We can check out these altcoins. Ethereum, you're going to get a big move when it breaks out from this mini consolidation here, and also you can call it an overall consolidation, especially if it's consolidation now from 1.5 to 2.5k if it can build up towards there. But compression leads to expansion. Doesn't tell you which direction, but you were looking at 2k and the February 6th level for again reversals or break and hold. Reversals or break and hold. Simple. It's the same with Solana. Again, it's just consolidating markets right now in crypto. It's nothing to say more than that. Anyone else who's saying crazy things is just not accurate. We give objective analysis on this channel. Soul's in a range. Above 80, cool. Can produce a high move. Reject 80, then you're reversing. Same for the February 6th level. Boom. Analysis done. Nothing more needs to be said about assets that have just been compressing. Big moves are going to come when it decides which way it's going to break out of its compression height. Another one, so false breakout, but it is coming after an all-time high rejection, so it's kind of in this chop zone. Everything between here is just going to be chop for high until it gets above the 2025 pivot. And really, that would just be making a new high here. If you make a new high, then you've got a low, high, high, low, and high, high. That would be actually pretty positive for hype bulls. So close above there, then that can probably continue trending. Until then, this is a chop zone and could equally lead to lower. Something you've got to also consider because it is a bearish chart. Yes, with a nice sweep and reclaim, but you've also got a sweep and fail to break out over here. So it's in the limbo zone till it shows some strength or shows some weakness. And that's really the full crypto market update. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of the markets. Got a link to Yubit here where if you want to deposit any amount, they're going to give you 10% back as an exclusive event for a few days time now. So make sure you take advantage of that. If you deposit 10k, you're going to get 1,000 free money to trade with essentially. And no KYC required. You get lifetime VIP 4 fees and you can trade all your assets, crypto, metals, and stocks on there. So we'll leave a link to Yubit below. Also, Make sure you smash a sub on the YouTube if you haven't already. If you appreciate the content, help a small channel grow. Would really appreciate it. We'll see you guys in the next one. GM.